Welcome. Today, we're going to share a story with you, a truly chilling account from Hong Kong back in 2013. It's a story that it really shook the city. It starts with a search, a desperate one for missing parents, but it descends into something, well, horrifying, something that challenges everything you think you know about family. Our journey today is to unpack this deeply disturbing tragedy, looking into the twisted reasons behind it. Okay, let's get into it. So it begins March 2013. Hong Kong. Very bustling place, right? Two brothers go to the police. They're worried. Their elderly parents, Gory Chow, who was 65, and Sil, 62, they've just vanished. No trace. Now, these parents, they weren't just anybody. They were pretty well known, successful in real estate. They built up quite a bit of wealth since the 80s, flipping properties, comfortable, well off. So the brothers, they start a public appeal. They even make a Facebook page, Missing Parents. They put up photos, descriptions of what they were last wearing. Mr. Chow in a dark blue vest, Miss Sil in a light sweater. Jeans for both. They even put their own phone numbers out there. But here's where it gets unsettling. The younger son, Henry Chow, he's right there participating, goes to the police, gives interviews to Apple Daily, other outlets, and he seems weirdly calm about it all, even makes jokes about his parents liking spicy food or hiking. He tells his older brother, Chow Huiying, that he'd overheard them planning a trip to mainland China. Seemed plausible, maybe.
Well, that composure, especially looking back, is a huge red flag, isn't it? For someone with the kind of personality traits he showed later, like narcissism, that detachment can be a mask, a tool even. It lets them control the narrative, manipulate perceptions. It's almost like they're enjoying the deception on some level. Shows a real disconnect.
A chilling disconnect. Okay, so days pass. More than a week, actually. Police check, border crossings, passports. Nothing. Mr. and Mrs. Chow never left Hong Kong. Their passports. Still at home. Bank accounts. Untouched. So this missing persons case, it suddenly feels much, much darker. Sinister. The investigation eventually points them towards this apartment building. Pretty nondescript in Tai Kok Tsui. And the second the police get near the door, they smell it. This potent, sickly, sweet odor.
That smell, often a terrible sign in these cases.
Exactly. It screams something was horribly wrong. They follow the smell. It leads them to a refrigerator. And inside, oh gosh, it's something those officers would never forget. The severed heads of Gory, Chow, and Sil. Just there, meticulously preserved.
Horrifying.
But it didn't stop there. Next to the heads, stacked neatly, were several rice boxes, like takeaway boxes. But these weren't leftovers. Inside was rice topped with. Well, what investigators quickly realized had to be human flesh, seasoned, cooked.
The sheer calculation involved, it's staggering. It's not just hiding a body. It feels like a deliberate desecration, turning victims into objects, disposable things. It suggests a total psychological breakdown.
Absolutely. And this leads us right back to Henry Chow, the younger son. See, Henry had always been different. Even as a kid, introverted, didn't really have social skills. He found it hard to connect with other kids, and he felt, alienated from his parents. He called them bossy, always pushing him about school. His escape, the internet, online worlds, where he could be someone else, characters from games or stories, get away from the pressure. He did have one talent, though, playing the piano. His mother pushed that, but academically, it was rough. He failed a really important exam, the HKCEE. Big disappointment for his parents. They didn't give up, though. They sent him to Australia to study actuarial mathematics, of all things. But it was the same story there. He struggled, claimed he was bullied, faced racism. After 3.5 years, he just dropped out, no degree. But he lied to his parents, told them he'd graduated. So he comes back to Hong Kong, even more withdrawn. Friends noticed a change, a really disturbing one. He started getting into extremist ideas, had pictures of like a WWII German leader as his wallpaper, his profile picture. Started openly talking about how much he hated his parents, other people too, really prejudiced views.
And that combination, the isolation, the feeling of failure, the high expectations, then latching on to radical ideas, it's a dangerous mix. Failure can breed resentment, right? And when you're isolated, that resentment just festers. Radical ideologies can then offer this warped justification, a way to blame everyone else. It's a terrible spiral.
Yeah, a terrible spiral indeed. And his work life reflected that. It was a disaster. Even with his parents trying to help, using their connections, he just couldn't keep a job. Always blaming his bosses, no motivation, wouldn't take responsibility. He quit one job, a real estate reporter gig his dad set up, just because he didn't like the boss. So here he is, nearly 30, unemployed, living off his parents, but living large. Then, in 2012, he makes this huge, disastrous stock investment. Uses a ton of his parents' money, his own savings, too. Poof. Gone. Broke. His parents finally confront him about everything. His lack of direction, the money, his response. He suggests they sell the family home and split the money. Yeah. They refused, of course. And that refusal, that seems to be when his resentment just hardened. solidified into something else. He apparently thought about suicide, but then decided, no, he'd get rid of the source of his stress, his parents.
Chilling. A complete shift from internal despair to external aggression.
And now the plan starts forming. And this part is, well, it's twisted. Henry claims it was his friend Angus J, this guy he met back in 2007 who pushed him, said Angus told him to, quote, eliminate the root of the problem, meaning his parents. And Henry's fantasy went even further. After the murders, he and Angus would supposedly flee to mainland China, and there they'd become serial rapists and murderers, targeting women, sex workers specifically. It's just vile.
A horrifying escalation.
The location, Tai Kok Tsui, was apparently Angus's idea too. The thinking was a busy working-class area might throw police off the scent of wealthy victims. And the preparations, police found searches on Henry's computer from months before, October 2012. Searches for missing persons, how to drain blood from corpses. Then he starts buying things. A saw, knives, bleach, a big new refrigerator, a microwave, a rice cooker, all the tools he'd later use.
That level of planning, researching methods months in advance, it completely undermines any idea this was spontaneous. It shows clear premeditation. It's moved beyond just removing the stress. It's become this grotesque, planned-out project, a fantasy he's determined to realize.
Exactly. So the day arrives, March 1st, 2013. Henry tricks his parents, lures them to Angus's apartment. He pretends he's thinking about renting a room there, getting a roommate, trying to seem responsible, finally growing up. His parents, probably relieved, maybe hopeful, agree to go check it out with him. What happened next, according to Henry's own account, is brutal. Once they're inside, he says Angus attacked his mother, Moonsil, from behind, covered her mouth, slit her throat. Instantaneous. Then Henry says he stabbed his father, Gory Chow, in the neck. There was a struggle. Angus, apparently stronger, helped him overpower and kill his father. Then, just 20 minutes after going in with his parents, CCTV catches Henry leaving the building alone. Where does he go? Straight to a hospital. For cuts on his hand and thigh, injuries he claimed he got struggling with his father.
Covering his tracks even then.
Seems like it. Then the disposal. Henry claimed that when he got back from the hospital, Angus was already dismembering the bodies. And Angus supposedly taught him what to do next, how to salt the body parts, vacuum seal them, to, preserve them, make them easier to handle. Then Angus allegedly suggests cooking the flesh.
Cooking it.
Yes. Like char siu, that Chinese barbecue pork, serve it over rice in those takeaway boxes, get rid of some of it with the regular garbage bit by bit so no one notices. The bones, other organs, dump them in the sea.
The methodical nature is just. It's almost clinical in its depravity. Yep. Salting, vacuum sealing, the char siu idea. It's dehumanization taken to an absolute extreme, trying to completely erase them, not just physically hide them.
It's incredibly disturbing. And Henry's own actions later just pile on the horror. Get this. While he's at the police station being questioned about his missing parents, he's on WhatsApp, messaging a group of friends. And he confesses, tells them everything. Describes the dismemberment, calls himself a psychopath, says he has no empathy, even boasts about how he's toying with the police, says he just needs time to say goodbye, then he'll tell the cops. Later that night, he tells a cousin and another friend the same story, in person.
Right.
He says he'll surrender tomorrow afternoon. Needs a good sleep first.
The arrogance is unbelievable. Confessing like that while supposedly cooperating.
Unbelievable. Luckily, one of those friends in the WhatsApp group was horrified, did the right thing, went to the police with the messages. That leads directly to Henry's arrest, March 15th, the next morning. And the evidence at Angus's apartment backs up so much of Henry's horrific story. Bloodstains, obviously. Bags of cement, a chopping board, hundreds of styrofoam boxes, the saw, the knives, 3 black bags with human limbs and other parts. And inside the refrigerators, the 2 heads, the cooked meat in the rice boxes, they even found human fat residue in the microwave.
Grim confirmation.
And a notebook in Henry's handwriting, detailing dismemberment methods. Pretty damning. When they asked him why, he just blamed his parents again. His dad was arrogant, watched TV too loud. His mom pushed the piano lessons, had humiliating facial expressions, petty grievances. He said he felt good waking up and them not being there. Even admitted he thought about killing his older brother too, but decided against it after his parents were gone.
That complete lack of remorse, the constant blaming, it fits perfectly with severe narcissistic and antisocial personality disorders.
Yeah.
In their mind, they're the victim. Everything bad that happens is someone else's fault. There's just no capacity for empathy or self-reflection. It's all externalized blame.
But then there's Angus C's story. Completely different. He flat out denied killing anyone or helping dismember them. Angus claimed Henry showed him the body parts after the murders had already happened. And then Henry threatened him. Threatened to kill Angus's own mother if he didn't help clean up and get rid of the remains. And Angus's background, He kind of fits that picture. Friends said he was gentle, shy, easily led, apparently a victim of bullying scams. He even had some brain damage from a past suicide attempt. Not exactly a criminal mastermind type.
A stark contrast to Henry.
Exactly. And then the IQ test came back. Crucial piece. Henry's IQ, 126, well above average. Angus's IQ, 84, below average. So the police concluded Henry was the driving force, the manipulator. Angus was the vulnerable one, easily controlled. Henry was later diagnosed. Narcissistic personality disorder, severe antisocial traits, egocentric, no empathy.
It paints a clear picture of that dynamic, doesn't it? Henry, intelligent and disordered, identifying and exploiting Angus's vulnerabilities, using fear, the threat against his mother, to coerce him into becoming an accomplice. It's a chilling example of psychological manipulation.
So the trial, it must have been absolutely harrowing. Started August 2014. The details were so gruesome that some jurors actually had to withdraw. Couldn't handle it. They had to restart with a new jury in February 2015. The prosecution laid it out. Premeditated, planned, but utterly remorseless. A profound desecration. They wanted life sentences. And on March 20th, 2015, that's what Henry Chow got. He was 31 then. Life in prison for 2 counts of murder. Plus another 9 years tacked on for the improper handling of remains, the dismemberment. The judge called him dangerous, deceptive, self-serving. Pointed out how he always blamed others. Henry showed no emotion at all. Impassive.
Justice served, in this case.
For Henry, yes. But Angus J, his outcome was different. He was acquitted of the murder charges, not enough direct evidence linking him to the actual killings, no fingerprints on weapons, things like that. He was convicted for the improper handling of remains, sentenced to 1 year. But because he'd already been locked up for 2 years waiting for trial, he was released immediately. He stuck to his story. Innocent of the murders, manipulated by Henry, forced by the threats against his mother, expressed regret for being naive.
A complex legal outcome reflecting the evidence or lack thereof against him directly.
It really is. And the case still leaves you with these horrible, lingering questions. Like, did anyone actually eat the meat from those mice boxes? Neither of them ever admitted to it. It's just this awful unanswered question. And the char siu detail, the Cantonese saying, it would have been better to have given birth to char siu for a bad kid. Was Henry consciously doing that? A twisted, literal enactment of that phrase? Or just a convenient disposal method? We'll probably never know for sure.
And beyond those grim details, the case really forces a look at deeper issues, doesn't it? Unaddressed mental health problems, toxic family dynamics hidden behind success, and a terrifying reminder of how things can fester. The pressure, the blame, the entitlement. It can all collide into unimaginable violence. A real reflection of potential darkness beneath the surface.
Absolutely. The Tai Kok Tsui murders just stun Hong Kong. A truly grim example of what happens when personal failure meets extreme malice and zero accountability. Henry Chow had intelligence, opportunity, but chose destruction. If you're interested in seeing a dramatization, there was a Hong Kong film made about it in 2022 called The Sparring Partner. And that brings us to the end of our story today. A deeply unsettling dive into manipulation, resentment, and a crime that truly horrified a city. The story of Henry Chow forces us to think about family expectations, failure, and just how dark things can get when malice goes unchecked. We really hope exploring this grim chapter gave you something to think about, some insights perhaps. If you found this compelling, even though it's disturbing, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We explore more of these fascinating, sometimes frightening stories. Until next time, please take care.